Hello, I'm Graham and I hope everyone's having a great day and welcome to this video. Now in this video I'm hopefully going to repair this GH3 which has got a wobbly monitor. It will probably apply to all the Panasonic range of cameras that have this articulated screen that turn out and twist to give you a good view. Now this just happens to be my GH3, but as I say, it's going to likely apply to any of the articulated screens. I've downloaded the service manual for this particular camera, and I'm going to put a link to the website where you can get the service manuals for most of the Panasonic cameras. So if you look at those before you start to disassemble the camera and see if you've got the technical skills required to enable you to do that. It's quite disconcerting, this wobbly monitor. It was never like this when it was new. It was quite stiff and useful, but now it's disconcerting when you've got it outside, you're wobbling away. It looks as though it's going to fall off. Now, having a look at the service manual, it appears that this hinge is held in place with two screws, top and bottom. Now, it could be that those screws have come loose or some other part of this mechanism has failed. I'm going to disassemble the back of the camera so we can have a look at that. Well, the first thing you'll need are some tools. Now, the screws on cameras are what are called JIS screws, but to all intents and purposes they will undo with a Phillips screw head. So this is a Phillips Zero crosspoint screwdriver which will fit these screws without causing any damage to the head. So you need to get yourself a decent crosspoint screwdriver. I've got a small pair of tweezers just in case I need to lift up any ribbon cables from the circuit boards, and to save fingernails when you're trying to separate these cases, I've just got a little bit plastic case puller that I got with a kit to replace the screen on a mobile phone. I also got a pen that I can make some notes as I wanted to on the way around. And the first thing to do is actually to remove your lens and install a body cap so you can work on the body without messing around with the lens. Obviously remove the battery because you're going to be working with electronics, and if you've got an SD card in the camera, remove that as well. Now, around the camera itself are numerous screws which we need to take out, and they are along the seam of the camera. There's one in the battery box, two on the side here, four on the EVF, and to remove those we need to remove the cover off the EVF, and you can probably see now there are four screws, and we need to remove the EVF adjustment dial as well. So there's going to be 5 screws there and a number of screws around the case. What I will normally do is when I'm taking cameras apart is to take the screws out and lay them down on a piece of paper exactly in the order that they're being taken out, so I know how to reassemble the camera, because sometimes you'll find there are screws with a different thread or a different length, and it's important obviously to get them back into the correct place. So I'm going to start to remove the screws from around the case, and then we'll remove the case to gain access to this hinge mechanism. I'm beginning by removing the case screws and laying these out on a piece of paper that I've marked the positions for the screws around the body. So I'm taking 1 from the left hand side, 3 from the base of the unit, two from the right hand side, and it's the top left of the pair and the bottom right of the seam. And there's one deep inside the battery box which needs to be removed. And now it's a case of removing the 4 screws which hold the EVF in place and the adjustment dial. All that remains now is to split the camera along the seam. You can either use your fingernails or one of these plastic case opening tools. You can just slip it inside the seam of the camera and work your way gently around the outside edges until you open the whole of the camera back. You'll notice now with the camera back split, the back of the camera is connected to the main PCB with these ribbon cables. Now, if you are careful, you can open these latches and remove the PCB cables from the latches without any damage. But it is possible to get to these two screws for the hinge without actually disconnecting those cables. We need to gain access to the hinge behind this hinge cover, and that's held in place with one single screw from the back of the camera. So if we remove that screw, we can remove the hinge cover to gain access to the screw which holds the hinge to the actual body itself. Using a magnetized screwdriver helps in these sort of instances. So that's the hinge cover removed, and I'm hoping that it's these screws here that are loose, and they are. Look, they're very loose. So that hinge is not been securely fastened down. I notice on quite a few comments in camera forums, a lot of you have this problem with this particular camera or similar cameras. So what I'm going to do is put a little bit of nail varnish on the base of the screw so that it won't come undone with vibration in future. I'm going to remove this screw and we'll apply a little bit of nail varnish in there just to lock the threads. Now it does have the yellow thread lock that Panasonic used during assembly, but I don't know why this has actually come undone. But with a little bit of nail varnish, that should cure the problem. So I'm going to put that back into the camera. Tighten that down. I'll just check the back of the camera, and that's cured the problem. The bottom hinge has no movement in it at all, so it was just that top hinge that was loose. So that was a simple repair and saved some money sending it back to Panasonic for repair. So it's now just a case of reassembly of the camera, and it's just a case of putting the screws back from the diagrams that you've made on the table to make sure they all go back in the same place. When you're assembling the EVF again, just be careful that on the adjustment dial there are two pegs which stick up from the dial which fits into the slot in the adjustment wheel of the EVF. So make sure you get those two in the slots before you tighten the screw down. Otherwise you'll break the tabs off the adjustment wheel. Hope you found that interesting. Please don't attempt this if you haven't got the requisite skill set, otherwise you could cause damage to the camera, particularly those ribbon cables between the PCB and the LCD display and all the back dials. If you're a new viewer to the channel, please do click that subscribe button, and then you'll be notified in your subscription list if I upload any new videos to this channel. So it's Graham saying thanks for watching, please do take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.